Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the ADDIESDIVE My-H3-C, homage to a Rolex Yachtmaster. Let's start with the wrist check. I have a company picnic today, so I'm wearing my Tag Heuer Aqua Racer. Going to dress to impress. And Grogo is wearing my Porster Regal Acorn. Grogo said he is still watching the Ahsoka series, and he mentioned the part where Hera pointed out that Ahsoka was quite tenacious. I said you could even call her Tenacious T. He said as long as Jack Black doesn't show up again. Okay, let's take a look at the watch. It comes in this nice plastic case. These ADDIESDIVEs always do. They're the same case that you see in Steel Dive and Watchdog and a few other brands. Really nice cases. They got these foam padding. It really keeps the watch protected. And then we have the instructions. We have the unsigned warranty card that says Deep Sea Hunter. I don't know why ADDIESDIVE does that. They put that in all their watches. And I have 3 extra links. So I removed 3 links to fit on my 7.5-inch wrist. But anyway, here is the watch. Isn't that a nice looking watch? Not bad at all, considering how much I paid for it. I've had quite a few ADDIESDIVE on my channel. I always point out that ADDIESDIVE and Steel Dive seem to be very similar, including their logos, but there are quite a few differences in their lineup. And ADDIESDIVE tend to have a few more affordable quartz versions that Steel Dive doesn't carry. This quartz homage to a Rolex Yachtmaster is one such edition that you won't find at Steel Dive, as they recently came out with a similar but more expensive automatic version. This watch is usually around $40, which isn't a bad price considering what you are getting. This is basically their quartz sub-homage with a different bezel, which I reviewed a couple years ago. The bezel is really the only difference, but there is more difference to the bezel other than the insert, as you will later find out in this review. There are only 2 colorways, and they both have black dials. The other colorway is a black bezel. Unfortunately, they don't have a blue dial with a red second hand, which is the Yachtmaster I would buy if I could actually afford one. The watch is 40.5 millimeters at the bezel. It's 48 millimeters lug to lug, and it has protruding end links, not inverted. It's 12.8 millimeters thick if you don't count the Cyclops, which is a little thick for a quartz watch. And weighs 143 grams on the supplied bracelet with 3 links removed, and it has a 20 millimeter lug width. As I pointed out in the montage, the bezel is the only real difference between this and the sub-homage. As you can see, the bezel is the Yachtmaster style with a metal insert and not a ceramic insert or aluminum. And there is no lume on it. On a real Yachtmaster, the bezel is bidirectional because unidirectional is only a safety measure for divers watch. And this is not technically a diver's watch, even though it says divers on it. A Yachtmaster is not. But this being an ADDIESDIVE, the bezel is unidirectional because they shares parts with the dive watches. So obviously they're not going to make a totally different design just to give you a bidirectional bezel. Now the bezel though, it's more different though than the insert. Watch. Hear all those clicks? When I reviewed the dive version of this watch, it was only a 90-click bezel. This one is a 360-click bezel. So you have 4 times as many clicks. And the nice thing about that, though, is you do not have to worry about alignment, because you will always be able to align it just fine because of the amount of clicks. And so I don't see any reason to complain about all the clicks. Works for me. And the clicks are smooth. There's no back play. So yeah, I like it. And so you can always get the perfect alignment. Then we have the dial. The dial is black. Flat black, no sunburst effect. And then we have a minute markers on the chapter ring. Then we have the ADDIESDIVE logo printed on top, not applied, and then it says divers with apostrophe S, and that is a mistake because that implies that it's ISO 6425 certified, and a $40 watch is most certainly not, because each and every watch must be tested, and that's rather expensive. Plus, this is supposed to be a Yachtmaster homage. It's not even supposed to be a dive style watch. So I don't know why they put divers there, but they did. More than likely, they put it on the sub homage that they do, and they just didn't want to change the dial. Then we have applied Lume indices, and they're the Rolex style with the upside down triangle at the 12, batons at the 9 and the 6, and dots everywhere else. And then we have a Cyclops at the 3. The Cyclops is magnified, and it does a decent job of magnifying, but I've noticed there's a lot of reflection in the Cyclops. So sometimes it's difficult to see the date, and the date does have a pretty significant border that takes up a lot of room. I think it would look nicer without the border, and then you could see the date a little bit better. And also, then you have the hands of the Rolex style. You got the fence post minute hand, Mercedes hour hand, lollipop second hand. And as you can see, the second hand is missing the marks. One nice thing, though, is some people complain about it, but the second hand is a little short. And since it doesn't actually go all the way to the minute markers, second hand missing is a little bit more forgivable because it's a little bit less noticeable. Then we have a signed screw-down crown with the ADDIESDIVE logo. The thread action is pretty good. It pops nicely when you unthread it. And then when you go to screw it back down, the threads catch right away and you don't feel a lot of resistance. So I like that. So let's check out the crown action though. Is it loosey-goosey? Do we have that annoying minute hand jump? Let's try it. No, it did not jump. So that's good. Then we have a flat mineral glass crystal. It says it has AR coating. Sure, most glass doesn't need it, but you can see through it just fine. You do see some reflection, but that's because I have overhead lights. So yeah, you're not going to get sapphire usually on a watch this price. And honestly, do you need sapphire? I've never been, yeah, it's kind of nice knowing that your crystal will never scratch, but how often I don't really scratch my crystals. Then we have the oyster style case. It's solid stainless steel. It's brushed up top, polished on the sides, brushed on the bottoms. It's a nice case, looks nice. The crown guards, though, don't really protect the crown. They just kind of stick the crown up. Then we have a coin edge screw down case back. That, of course, means you need coin edge tools to remove it. Just a minute, and I'll see what size you need. You're going to need a 30.5 millimeter tool to remove it. Then it has the ADDIESDIVE logo. Then it says all stainless steel, which it is. Then it says Deep Sea Hunter. Then Sport Diving Divers, once again with apostrophe S, 200 meters. And it shouldn't say divers with the apostrophe S. Underneath the case back is the Miyota 2115. At least it's Japanese made, which is probably one of the reasons why it doesn't have that annoying minute hand jump. Although Seika makes a really cheap quartz movement that I see in a lot of watches that has that annoying jump. So usually I have pretty good luck with the 2115. Then we have the bracelet. We got solid end links, but they're protruding, so that makes the lug-to-lug a little bit longer. and they're fully brushed 3-link, but they're not fully articulating. The center links are attached to the side links. And we have push pin adjusters, not screw pins. I'm perfectly fine with push pins. I think it's just easier than trying to fumble with a little tiny screwdriver. Plus, I never have push pins come out. Every once in a while, I do have screw pins come out on me. Then we have the clasp. It's cheap and it's pressed. I mean, it works fine. It's just not the prettiest thing. Plus, it's pressed. I mean, considering it's a $40 watch, I mean, why not have a press clasp? Why make the watch more expensive? If you want to, it's not signed, so if you want to get a clasp for it, you can get one on AliExpress really cheap. Here, let me see what size you need. All right. Looks like you need an 18mm clasp if you decide to order a milled one on Ali. And this only has 3 holes of micro adjust. It'd be nice if it had 4, because this is oyster style, so the links are pretty big, and you do want that perfect fit. Here's the watch and my 7.5-inch wrist. I think it looks nice. Has a nice wrist roll. Here we are in the Lume room. The name Annie's Dive is synonymous with excellent Lume, and this watch is no exception. As we speed up the time, we see that we have full-on Lume, and there is no compromise going on for this quartz version. This Lume is as good as their dive-style watches, with the only difference is you get no bezel Lume due to the metal bracelet insert. You can read this watch in the dark just fine, which is quite impressive for the price of this watch. What do I like about this watch? Well, I like the 360 click bezel. It's kind of fun that it clicks so much and it will never be out of alignment. It has awesome Lume for a $40 watch. And I do like this steel bezel. It's kind of fun, makes it look like a Yachtmaster. What are my grapes and groans? Don't say divers with an apostrophe S unless the watch is ISO 6425 certified, which this is not. The second hand does miss the marks. And there is no blue colorway with the red second hand, which I consider to be the quintessential Yachtmaster colorway. Do I recommend this watch? Yes. If you want a solid steel watch that looks like a Yachtmaster, then this one will do the trick and give you great Lume as a bonus. I just wish they had a blue dial with red second hand. Well, thank you for watching my review, the ADDIESDIVE My-H3-C. And I will be back with another review. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.